Of you. Good evening to all attendees. Good evening to my panelists. It was great to welcome all panelists who are working in diversified industries like Mr. Bhumik is working in Wipro, who has taken time as a consultant, who has taken time to conduct this kind of a session. We thankful for Bhumik, as well as I welcome Mr. Amanpreet Kapoor, who is working as a lead instructor in University of Florida. He is also I am very thankful to as he has given time to give us this kind of a session. I also welcome all attendees who have taken this session as a serious concern uh, for in terms of employment, in terms of how to upgrade ourselves and how to overcome in this kind of difficult time. Uh, I would like to tell you that all attendees, if you want have any kind of questions, you can write it on the chat box so that we can give last 10 minutes for this question answer session. Apart from this, we start with the session with saying that this time, COVID-19, of course, everyone is being affected. Everyone is due to this COVID-19, the organization has been affected, the students has been affected, and is going to be affected in the future also. This COVID-19 has drastically changed all the concerns, all the sectors, all the organizations, as well as the aspirants and the newly joined people who are working for the experienced persons in the organization. It has been changed altogether. Now it come into the behavior that how we are going to overcome this kind of difficult time. Of course, organization is coping with this. Organization is overcoming with certain kind of strategies. Like TCS has already TCS has already announced that 80% of their employees are fresher employees are going to work from home. Every organization is going to concern for that. It is going to be very difficult time for the manufacturing and production industries. Although in last few days I have seen that central government has given certain packages to the MSME to boost the production, but yes, and as well as the localization for manufacturing. But yes, of course, in the coming time, it is going to be difficult for everyone. Now, in this difficult time, how we are going to upgrade ourselves and whatever be the expectations of the organization they have, we need to think about those expectations and we need to overcome with this kind of skill enhancement to meet out those expectations. So in coming session by Mr. Bhumik and Amanpreet Kapoor, who is going to give us the tips and tricks of how this COVID-19 can give us an opportunity to upgrade ourselves, to enhance ourselves, and especially the students who are going to grab the employment in coming days, like next year, who are in third year and who are in second year, who is having 2 year more time to get the employment. How they are going to upgrade themselves, how they are going to enhance their skills in terms of to meet out the expectation of the employees, because expectations of the employees are completely changed today. They don't want the quantity, they want the quality of the skills, quality of the aspirants or the you can say candidates. So in terms of that, the students need to boost themselves, need to morale themselves, motivate themselves to upgrade themselves in a new skills, or whatever the skills are being there, you have to work on their strengths. So Mr. Bhumik and Amanpreet Kapoor is going to talk about the tips and tricks of how the employment, what are the expectations of the employment, and how we are going to meet out those expectations. So we welcome first Mr. Bhumik Sharma. Please take charge and tell us how we are going to upgrade ourselves. What are the tips and tricks from you who is working in Wipro, the IT industry, how they are going to uh, look for the candidate, what are their expectations. And because of being a mechanical engineer, Bhumik Sharma, who is being passed out from JUT, JP University of Engineering Technology, Pune, and is working right now in data science in Wipro, how this has been a difficult time for interdisciplinary skills you have already been uh, you have grabbed. So being a mechanical engineer working in IT industry, you are not working in a core industry. So how it is going to be a opportunity for you? It is being treated as an opportunity, or it's a bit difficult for you? So please share our, some of the experience from your side. Over to you, Bhumik.
Yeah, thank you so much, Abhishek sir. Also, once again, I'd like to thank you for having me here. Now, since you've already introduced me enough, I guess there are a few other things that I would like to share with everyone, before I delve into the other things. So let me first start by talking about my background. So funny thing is, so Amanpreet and I both went to the same school together, right? And coincidentally, we ended up in the same college together again. But then again, both of us, took different ways. Amanpreet was more inclined towards computer science. I took up mechanical engineering. So when I took up mechanical engineering, my sole reason for taking that up was that I wanted to join the Air Force. But then again, you can't really decide early on in life, how things are going to go out. So, things change and you have to adapt and improvise with those changes. So when I graduated in 2016 as a mechanical engineer, I had the two campus placement offers, which most people are able to score, which was with the software companies like Infosys and Cognizant. So I was like in those sphere, you feel safe that, you've graduated, you have a job offer in hand. So everything in life is pretty much sorted out. And I'm talking about not too long, just like 4 years ago. But it's a different scenario right outside the college gate, like when the real life actually hits you. So even the delay that was being caused on the end of the Infosys and Cognizant to actually ramp up my joining actually forced me to start considering other options. And since I was a mechanical engineer, I was conditioned to also believe in things like like we guys are not meant to do the desk job, right? And corporates exactly aren't something that we guys are built out for. And that's the kind of conditioning that goes into not just mechanical, but like almost every other I would say traditional branches of engineering, such as civil engineering, chemical engineering. So it becomes difficult. I would agree that at some point of time it does becomes difficult to move to different avenues, but then again all I guess it doesn't take talent. I would be very clear about that. Talent is not something that's going to take you a long way. It's the effort and the hard work that you'll put in that's going to pave out the ways for you. So when I graduated out of college, I had two job offers, which both of whom which I declined. And after 6 months, I ended up with an internship. So it was a pretty stupid decision back in those days, to give up a job offer for an internship. But then again, like fortunately things turned out right. I'm not saying everyone should be doing that, but then again, I guess the only major takeaway that I would give is that don't be afraid to take decisions on your own. That's something that's really important. So let me just. We were actually planning to take up a small survey with every one of you, but the way I see it, there are very less students who are on this call, and most of the people belong to the fraternity of the academics. So we would skip that, and I've just straight off head up to a presentation, which is actually nothing real serious, but yeah, hold on. Okay, so who am I and what do I do? As Abhishek sir has already summarized that thing up, that I work in the field of data science. So the first place that I started working off as an intern was Ernst & Young. I was a part of their data analytics. When I went in there, I was basically picked up just because of my logical reasoning abilities. And I knew I did not know SQL. I did I did not know any of those tools, that people from computer science engineering usually learn in college. But of course, I did not know any of those. But the first prerequisite of the domain that I come from is nothing but logical interpretation of problems. And believe me or not, it's as simple as it is, right? It's been 4 years. So like I left Ernst & Young about 6 months back in December and moved to Wipro, where basically I'm actually working with one of the largest private equity firms. And where I do work is similar to my previous experience. The kind of analytics that we guys do mostly revolves around the financial markets, and it mostly circulates around those areas where financial transactions are involved and major stakeholders are taking up the decisions. So let's just talk about data science first of all, right? So first of all, let's be very clear about the fact that data science is not computer science, right? Although it does appears to be like a sister of that discipline, then again, it is far, far away from it. Data science and computer science are related, just like how computer science and electronics are related. They have a symbiotic relationship between the two, but then again, you don't have to imply that since you do not come from computer science background, data science is something that you cannot learn. It is a new field, and the horizons in which this field is panning out is extremely vast, right? There are analytics related to different subjects in different areas with different level of expertise which is required. Right. So there are analytics with respect to financial markets. There are analytics with respect to healthcare that we're seeing. I'm sure every one of you has been going up to the two websites recently. One is Worldometers, and the other one is the COVID-19 India dashboard. Both of those platforms are basically data science driven platforms which provide you with that information that you're looking for in the simplest way possible. So that is one of the end product of data science that you have to look upon. And there is not a lot of computer science that actually works behind that. The basics of this field, again, lie behind statistics and mathematics, right? So if you're good with that, it's reasonable to think of this field as one of the potential areas where you can, in future, start to delve in and start to pitch in. And you can really look forward to much more and more opportunities in this area as a whole. The one problem with data science is that it is not formally a part of academic disciplines anywhere, right? So, like I've been in touch with the mechanical engineering department, Professor Kedari Lal Thakur. So he has been of the opinion that data science should be something that should be taught as active maybe in the final years, or it should be brought down in the part of the curriculum so that people are more and more aware about it and they can actually go forward and seek these opportunities for themselves. But then again, a lot of data science is nothing but learning, right? Self-help tools available online, and they are available in abundance, right? You just have to sit down and Google, and you can do the simplest Google search of how to learn data science or what are the tools that you need to learn to go into data science. And there can be several things that can simply pop up in front of you. But it's important logic that lies at the base of this is that you need to keep an open mind towards things, right? Because of, as Dr. Abhishek Shukla recently said, that, the market has changed, the trends have changed, the type of employments and the type of jobs that are going to come forward in times is going to be really, really different from what they really are, right? So you must keep an open mind towards things, right? So let's say, me being a mechanical engineer, it sometimes, comes surprising to people that you come from a mechanical engineering background, then how come you're in data analytics? I guess the answer to that lies in that you not understanding what data analytics actually is, right? Anybody can be in data analytics. Like I have peers work along with me who do not even come from science or mathematics backgrounds, right? And they are doing wonderful things in data analytics. So this is one of those, I would say, I guess, somewhere in life, we are all looking for a reset button, at every step of the way. When we come to when we're coming to 12th standard, we're looking for a reset button that will stick things which keep the most number of options open for us. So that's how physics, chemistry, and mathematics remain one of the most popular choices, because they open up the highest number of options in front of you. And then if you talk about things such as going into engineering, again, you tend to choose discipline of engineering, which again keeps the most number of options open for you. So you always want to go back and keep hitting the reset button, that so that you can keep starting fresh. So although it's not a very good habit, I would say, because that kind of tells you that you're not exactly in one. But then again, now mostly lies. You take one direction, and then at some point of time, you have to switch. Sometimes you have to do it on your own. At this point of time in history, we, all of us, may have to take those kind of decisions because of how the world is reacting to the entire pandemic that surrounds us today. Like if there was no pandemic, this webinar would never be happening, and we wouldn't be discussing any of these things online on Zoom ever, right? So let's remember that a series of events has led to this one discussion being happening, and then again this randomness is going to keep going forward, and you would never be able to actually comprehend what's next. So all you can always do is you have to always keep accepting the changes that are coming in, adapting around it, and then going.
I think we have lost Bhumik. He might be joining in a minute or so.
Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, I would like to request all attendants, please mute their microphones so that the background of the sound should not come. And we'll be connecting to Amanpreet. You can take over. Meanwhile, when he is going to connect.
Yeah, I think I'll take, like, if he doesn't connect in the next 2 minutes, I'll probably start my presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, hi. Am I still audible?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. So, like as I was saying, we have to just be cognizant of how things are going to unfold, and just be open to all those changes. Taking place ahead.
Bhumik,
Right.
you can only
Amanpreet,
share
is there a
your.
way we can actually erase this thing off?
Of course. Bhumik, you can only share your screen. Don't share your webcam, so that the bandwidth should not be exceed. Right.
Yes.
So only share one thing so that it should be audible clearly.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing that I would actually, focus on is like how, like both Abhishek sir and I have mentioned right now that, the work cultures are changing. But then how are those changing taking place, and how do we view it? So all of these observations that I have, they basically come out of my recent experiences of when I was trying to switch a job. And then when currently nowadays, when I'm interviewing new candidates who are trying to switch a job, and how things have changed just in the matter of 6 months. So like when 6 months ago, if you're trying to look for different career options, or you're trying to switch a job, things were much more different. Things were viewed in a completely different kaleidoscope, as I would say. But in today's times, all of those factors have become redundant. So there are different types of things that we would be me or anyone who is taking an interview of you would be seeking in you, so that they can actually quantify if you're fit or not. So first of all, you have to assume yourself on a global level. You can't just imagine that you're competing with your classmates which are there in your school or in your college or anywhere you are. So you have to assume that you're competing on a global level, right? So you're not the only one, or you're not just 100 people who are graduating from one place, and that's what the competition is. The competition is the number of students graduating across this country, or maybe across the world at the same time, who would be looking for the same type of jobs. Because the globalization has actually, again, as we say, made this world a smaller place. So it doesn't matter to me, that I should be looking after a specific person from a specific location or an area only. I can look for someone from anywhere, because of the way things are supposed to be function now. And communication, as we've always heard people say that communication is something that's going to help you in your career. Communication is something that's going to help you build your job. And in engineering colleges, I would say it's a bit of an overrated discussion. The focus is always on the academics and the technical learning, which of course build the core of everything, that on which which of course build the bedrock of your career. But then again, a building doesn't simply rely on the bedrock. All right, you have to be effective in your communication, and now it is required more than ever, because your communication channel is really, really, really restricted. You do not have the luxury of face-to-face communication anymore, right? You have to communicate through cell phones, through these kind of Zoom conferences, through video calls, and those are the means of communication which are now going to be on the table. So how are you going to be empathetic even through virtual means of communication? How are you going to effectively communicate your problems? How are you going to effectively deliver solutions? How are you going to discuss things with your peers? All right, how are you going to strategize within your team? How are you going to interact with people globally, right? It changes a lot of perspectives. For example, the simplest example I would give right now is that everyone on this call right now may not be feeling equally connected, right? Instead of if all of us were actually sitting down in a room or something. So over here, how things have become is that I cannot actually observe how you are reacting to what I'm saying, right? I can only assume that you're listening to me, right? But it is up to your own attentiveness that it's going to work out that do you have anything to deliver to me or not, or am I actually making sense to you or not? So the way you're actually putting up the signs, that actually tells me that there is a break in the communication. But then again, you yourself are not able to come out and tell, and I am not able to perceive it. And that actually tells us nothing but the relevance of communication more and more in this scenario, right? So on the same context, remote interviews are something which are going to be in the trend now. So whenever you prepare for something, you have to make sure that you're able to deliver the same level of confidence and the same level of content and knowledge, even through virtual means, right? The next point that there is that focusing on skills which are more of are more in the domain of individual contribution are far more sustainable as compared to the kind of skills where you need teamwork, right? So of course you should be a team player, but then again, if you're someone who is able to contribute effectively even on an individual level, that's something that's going to play a vital role in how you set off things ahead. And as I've always said, you need to adapt, improvise, and overcome, right? Most of the jobs that are there in this country, right? Most of those jobs are going to be outsourced jobs from the US, from the States, right? And I wouldn't say Europe has enough market left right now. But then again, the cream of the creamy layer which would reside in the private sector right now is mostly dedicated towards either analytics, or it is towards computer science and development, which is there. I guess, Amanpreet can speak far better on computer science and all those areas. But if I have to say, it is, again, lastly imperative, or I would say, it is of high importance now that all of us are training ourselves and learning on our own to become someone who is who can actually effectively deliver interdisciplinary routines. So for example, if you're a mechanical engineer, right, you will have to focus more towards how the current market trends is, and not simply rely on the curriculum that exists. Because there's one example that I distinctly remember. subject was more towards the fine tools and which are used in manufacturing. The funny thing was that the tools that we were taught for nearly half of the semester, those tools actually went out of industry somewhere around the 80s and 90s, right? And the manufacturing industry today had actually changed completely for an educated engineer or for a highly qualified engineer, right? So although you had that knowledge, but that knowledge wasn't really going to pave any way for your future. So you need to keep yourself updated, and you need to keep yourself accustomed to how the industry is changing. All right, you need to ask yourself that what kind of career are you trying to plan, and then work towards that, rather than expecting and relying upon the institute and other things which are happening around. It has to be an effort that we have to take ourselves and go forward in order to pave our career, because your career is your career, it's not university's career. All right, once you graduate, your life is only your own, and you're the ones who's going to take those decisions. So I guess I've taken enough time. I would yield the floor to Amanpreet to take this discussion forward.
Thanks, Bhumik. I'll just start sharing my screen. Give me a second. Great talk, by the way.
Yeah, I guess I remember St. Peter's College back then.
Okay, so like the way it's going to work, you can ask me any questions during the presentation. That should be fine. I'll now start my presentation. So thanks, Professor Abhishek Shukla and both Bhumik Sharma as well for providing me the opportunity to speak at this webinar. So good evening, everybody. My name is Amanpreet Kapoor, and I'm a doctoral student at University of Florida in Gainesville. So the outline for my talk would be roughly like I'll be talking about who I am. Then we'll discuss like what an ideal college student is supposed to do because I planned this basically more for the students who are either enrolled in diploma or they are just starting their career, whether they are enrolled in BTech program or MTech. But I didn't prepare this for the faculties. So just bear with me, and the talk is more centered towards the students. I'll be discussing what are the employer expectations, as well as what are different learning opportunities that exist outside of classroom. Finally, I'll be touching a little bit about on the technical skills that are necessary in the current situation, which might be helpful for your future careers, as well as how we can build your brand, which is I'll be specifically talking about like how to design your resume. And finally, I'll share some resources on like moving forward after the webinar, what you're supposed to do to make sure you are competitive for employment. So just a bit about myself. I'm currently a PhD student at University of Florida. Also, I'm an educator. I'm currently teaching a couple of classes here. I'm a computer science education researcher, which is like I research on how to teach better computer science and how to make sure our students are employed in different professions after their graduation. Finally, I've like worked as a software engineer previously at Siemens Healthineers and Deloitte, both of them in the States. These are some of the past organizations that I've been affiliated with. So I was an alumni of 2011 to 15 batch, and I pursued computer science in JUET at Gunnar. So I wanted to know a little bit about the audience, like who the audience is. So I'll give you like 30 seconds to probably 45 seconds. We don't have too much time. If you guys have a spare cell phone, if you're on a laptop, just use your cell phone and go to this website menti.com. Use this code 84, 22, and 28 to like I just want to understand who is the audience who's attending the meeting right now. This is optional, of course. So let me pull this up. We won't spend a lot of time on this, probably like 30 seconds. I just want to know like who is on the call. So go to menti.com, use this code 84, 22, and 28.
Done.
So I guess like most of the people in the talk are probably like faculty members, because uh, uh, I'm expecting the others mean like they are either employed or they are in the mid-career trajectory. So you'll find some certain parts of the talk kind of like useful for you if you are like looking for employment in the future. So we have some aspects for everybody. The last one was, why did you decide to pursue? I see a lot of you have said like self-interest, and we are going to catch up on this like during the presentation. So let's go back. Just give me a second. So college students in both like India and as well as in states or anywhere in the world have like different goals and expectations. And I carry out like research on understanding what are their goals and expectations out of the degree programs. Also, we have found out through our prior research that everybody has different learning styles as well as different learning preferences. Like some people like to learn from courses, while another ones like to watch videos on YouTube. There's another category who like to do hands-on stuff, which is build things, and so on. The issue with the current education model, which is all the universities in the world, like not only in India, but I'm talking about generally everywhere in the world, is most universities plan out with a one size fit all model, which is, although we have different goals, attitudes, beliefs, and expectations, which is one person might be looking for a high paying job while another person might be just looking to go for further education. The university doesn't care about all these things, which is they have set up they have been set up to make sure like everybody is educated, but they don't consider all these different peculiarities of various individuals. So the key takeaway from this is, don't be over dependent on the educational institution wherever you are located, which is you have to do stuff outside the curriculum, not relying just on the university education or the courses that you take at a particular university. So an idea, like I just wanted to frame this idea of what is an ideal college education look like. And this is my area of research. So I just wanted to give you some career advice before I move to the actual transition into like what employers are looking for. So there's this theory that I use as a general framework, and it basically categorizes students into 4 different types. The first
Aman, sorry to interrupt you. One attendee, Misa, has said that the audio is not so clear. So can you please a little bit louder when you say?
Okay. Okay. I'll just stop my video, I guess, because maybe it's consuming the
Sure,
bandwidth.
sure.
Thanks. So I was saying like, since this is a general framework I use in my research, there are typically like 4 different types of students who join like universities. Like I'm talking about bachelor's or master's, which is, there are 4 different modes. The first one are students who do not care too much, which is like they are not studying outside the curriculum. They are just sitting like with their friends, doing all like they just don't care about getting some sort of education. The second one is like high exploration, but low commitment, which is like, this is a good phase, which is you are actively exploring, like I want to be a data scientist, I want to maybe switch into something else, but you are at least like exploring what are the different opportunities that are available to you guys. The third one is foreclosure. I see that a lot in like most of the Indians. Like I think like when I started the program, I was in that phase, which was I was told by my parents like just go and pursue computer science education, and like later on those interests developed that I wanted to like stay in this field. But when I first started, it was more likely that like my parents just told me like go into computer science education, or let's say if you are doctors, usually the children of doctors, it's already implied. So these students don't explore a lot. And the final stage is called achievement, which is the student knows what he wants to do and he's like actively building skills in that particular domain. So the goal of the education is like these stages shift from one place to another. Okay. And the goal is to be in the bottom two stages. So if you are in the top two, which is you are told by your parents to do something, or you are not actively doing anything, which is just passing your time, your goal should be to explore. So that brings to the second key takeaway of this talk, which is you need to commit something initially, even if you don't enjoy it, like still commit to something and stay in that particular field, which is an example could be like, let's say if you are in mechanical engineering and you like data science, or like you like to work with data. So there are a lot of applications of data within mechanical engineering, but you need, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes, Aman, we can hear you.
Okay, so
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
okay, so you need to commit initially, even if you don't enjoy, and like keep exploring these different professions that are out there, which is like, don't seclude yourself, which is if you are enrolled in electronics engineering, don't be in the bubble that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, which is just electronics engineering, but try to explore other disciplines as well, which is talk to friends in mechanical engineering. Maybe your interest might be something else, or if you are in computer science, and you like something like building stuff, or doing more electronic stuff, you can always like work into aspects like robotics within the degree program during the 4 years that you have in college, to make sure you have some competencies when you're applying for jobs. So who are you competing with? I'll just reiterate this point, which Bhumik already like captured really nicely in his talk, which is like we have this habit that we try to compare ourselves with others. So that habit is bad, but it's really hard to change a bad habit. So I don't want you to change that habit, but at least change the focus of attention, which is you are not competing with your neighbor, which is like, let's say if you are a faculty member at JUET, don't see what your faculty members at JUET are doing, like the other faculty. Try to see maybe at like what is somebody doing at Stanford, or what is somebody doing at some other university, and you are competing with the entire world. So try to change your focus of attention, which is if you try to uh, like compare yourself with other people, it gives you a much bigger exposure, or you have better chances of gaining employment. That's just from my personal experience. Another thing that you're competing with is your attention. So like there's a famous quote by Herbert Simon, who was like a Nobel Prize winner in the 1970s. He said that a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. And what this means is like right now we have so many different resources. You have Netflix, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Snapchat. So you are not competing with XYZ person in the university. Instead, you are competing with yourself, and you are competing for the sake of time, which is you need to devote time. Like I know it's like really pleasurable to watch let's say Mirzapur or any particular season on Netflix or Amazon, but at the end of the day we are just competing for our attention, which is we are trying to focus on a new learning task or a skill that we want to develop. So the third key takeaway from my talk is you need to think more globally and stay focused on learning. I'm not saying like spend 80 to 100 hours to just like learning every week, but you should have at least like about 40 hours that you're spending to like building your skills or taking seriously your degree program that you're enrolled in. So now I'll be like shifting into what are the expectations of employers, because this is my area of research. This might be a little bit skewed towards computer science, but I think it's generally more applicable to other areas as well. So employers right now are expecting that students need to participate outside of college, which is uh, we did some research and we found that like GPA doesn't matter at all, which is like I think we had about 600 students data, and we were trying to find out like whether GPA is one of the factors that affect their like opportunity. Just a second, I'll just mute everybody. Give me a second.
Aman, just a second. I would like to request all the attendees, please mute your microphone because creating disturbance.
Also, to actually just
Yeah.
reiterate Amanpreet's point of view here, this is one small addition I would like to make, that this is not something that's limited to the United States and other places where, Amanpreet might have researched. It is localized to India itself, because no matter how many job interviews I've given so far, and there has only been one instance where I got rejected, but in every job interview that I've given so far,
Can you unmute Bhumik? I just muted everybody and like they
yeah,
can't unmute now. So
yeah.
it should be fine.
So,
Go ahead.
so basically, from every interview that I went to, nobody has ever asked that what did I score in college, even for my first job, right? Nobody has ever paid attention to how much did I score in college. What they did pay attention is to the kind of challenges that they'll throw to you when you go to them.
Yep. That's a great point, Bhumik.
Yep.
So, like, just reiterating on the fact that what most of the interviews will ask you, what did you do outside of college? They don't care because they know everybody was in the degree program. So, what distinguishes students is what they actually did outside the curriculum, and how you can do like things that might be helpful for your employment is through these different things that I'm going to talk about in the next section, which is these online courses, personal project, internships, different competitions, which is like I know in mechanical there's a SAI competition, and in computer science there's something called Code Chef and stuff like that. The different clubs that you participate in, different technical events and fests that you participate in. So the typical hiring process, this is too specific for CS, so I'm going to skip this. But the typical expectations of employers is employers not just look for technical skills, they look for overall development in the form of professional skills and technical interview preparation and practices, which is both like how you worked outside the curriculum and how you articulate what you worked, which is like, I'm not talking about these employers like Infosys and all the mass recruiting employers. I'm talking about even the employers which are just like Amazon, Flipkart, and the next level of companies which hire. They don't just need the technical skills; they also need the professional skills, which are like how you communicate or how you describe a particular situation and stuff. So a lot of you might have this. This confusion that they just look for technical skills. That's not the case. And there's another thing is a lot of the students at JUET, I know they don't even apply because they feel intimidated. Don't do that. You have just 4 years of college. You never know like where you might end up into. So like you should apply for all these jobs outside of the companies that JUET brings in. Like JUET does brings in a lot of companies, but there are so many different companies. Like in the States, the entire recruitment process is up to the individual. Like nothing is on the university. So we apply for jobs online all the time. And I think India will see the same phase in the near future, which is most of the good companies will be like students will be applying for jobs on their own without like any additional scaffolding from a university. So the key takeaway is employers expect way more than coursework. There are going to be like three more takeaways. The next one I'm going to talk about is the learning opportunities outside of classroom, like what you can do to build these skills that employers are looking for. So these are like, I'll present like what these actually mean, and I'm not going to go into affordances. Affordances are basically what they provide or what is the advantage of pursuing like a personal project, and challenges is what are the disadvantages or what are the challenges you might encounter when you are doing something like this. So a personal project is something that you do in your leisure time, which is you are attracted to a domain like data science, or if you're in mechanical engineering, you might be building a car or like a small demo model of car. The good parts about this is it is like low stakes because you do not have to worry about grades and stuff. So you are doing it out of your personal interest. This is essentially very important because it helps you to determine what you really like and what you don't like. The other one is hackathons. They are not too popular in India, but they are really popular in the States. Hackathon is more like an event where nobody knows each other. you come to a particular event, it's like more than 24 hours or 48 hours, like 2 days straight. So nobody sleeps at night, and they build something after in like 48 hours as a team. So you first do like pitches, and then you create a particular project. This is getting really popular here, and it's a very popular job recruitment tool. And typically I see like India is typically like 5 years behind states, so this will come to India eventually. So maybe this might provide you an opportunity to organize this kind of an event at your respective university, or even at JUET we should organize these kind of events. So this is not specifically for computer science students, it is for everybody. So they have no coding background, they just come there, they discuss like what they can build in 2 days, they learn on the fly, and it's like it's a really fun environment. This has
One one thing I want to add, that JUT now hackathon, codeathon is also they are playing part. The students are taking part into this contest like hackathon and codeathon, and they even create a kind of a contest in this
Oh,
platform.
nice,
So
nice.
yes, so the JUT is doing that, and even they have a ranking system. So the JUT comes into 100 top 100 rank in all over the world.
Uh-huh.
Some of the students.
Yeah.
So yes, it's already there in the India, and it's being popular. Of course, it's not popular as compared to states, but yes, in coming days, it's going to be popular.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for the update, and reminding me that like I haven't been there in India for a while, and during my time there were no hackathons. So like thanks for reminding me. Now they are there, which is really good. So
Yeah.
that brings to the next one, which is conferences. There are still like less conferences compared to the states, but I like when I was in JUET, like during 2012 to 2011 to 15, I still attended like 3 conferences in India. One was in Bangalore. These are like technical conferences in your respective domain. You need to find out, there are some travel costs associated with it. Other than that, for students, it's typically free everywhere. So these conferences, like I attended, I remember PyCon, there was another one in Hyderabad. Uh, so I forgot the names. I just wanted to let you know, like these events are really helpful for networking, as well as like even though you spend some travel costs, which is like 5 to 10,000 rupees maybe, compared to your the money that you are spending on your education, which is like maybe like 8 to 10 lakh rupees of fee, it is just like too trivial. Like don't think about it and try to attend maybe 1 or 2 conferences during your education. And I know Bhumik attended like so many of them. Like I'm not talking specifically about technical conferences, but even like the Model United Nations and Youth Parliament is a kind of conference. Bhumik, do you want to share something regarding it?
No, that's okay. I attended. I probably ended up kept attending them even after college, and like the kind of network that I have throughout the country because of them has kind of really, helped the career as well. So yeah, I mean it's good for both interpersonal growth as well, and not just professional. And
Okay.
besides, it's a good spend of time.
Yep.
And if you're doing them good enough, you don't really have to worry about the expenses. They kind of end up becoming self-sponsored.
Yep. I agree. I think we should have a separate webinar on like conferences, because Bhumik is kind of one of the leads in the number of conferences he has attended. So he has a lot of experience. Then the next one we are going to talk about is competitions and coding challenges. There are competitions specific to your major, which is electronics. There might be something else. I just wanted to let everybody know, like for computer science, there's not only like coding challenges, which is like programming kind of contest, but there's something in data science, which is if you search Kaggle, Kaggle is a big platform which hosts like data science competitions, which is you have like large data sets and you want to analyze it to do something. And I know a lot of people who have got jobs by solving problems on Kaggle, which is, I think they have also a paid program, which is like some people shared paid data sets. If you solve their problem, you can get paid. The last one is internships. It's like hard to get into in India because there are so few of them. Also, we are in a very secluded place, which is like JUT is like, it's not in Bangalore or a tech hub. So it's hard to find. But if you can do some unpaid internships initially, which is during your first year and second year, don't wait till the last year. Like most students who get jobs in good companies like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, I've seen all of them started internships starting their first year, which is they do typically free internships, or they try to solve a problem. It could be as simple as you have like Hotel Varun and Guna, and you might be creating a website for them that can be called an internship. And nobody is going to say no for free work. If you're doing like free work, nobody is going to say no, but that free work can get paid like later on in huge amounts, like if you try to do something which is a real world project.
Yeah,
So,
actually, Amanpreet, there's one addition to that when you talk about this with respect to India, because I started off my career through an internship only, right?
yep.
So the one major difference that lies in India is that in India, internships are mostly available for people, who can be actually converted to full-time employees later on. So
Mhm.
that's the major domain of internships which are available. So when I talk about both Ernst and Young and Blackstone Group, right, they do take in interns, but they prefer to take interns who are either in their final year or have graduated, so that in case we have to onboard them as a full-time employee, it can be done instantly, right? We don't have to wait, by the time the person will finish their degree or something like that. And the level of unemployments that have risen in India, even the number of graduates is way more for the undergraduates to actually get those kind of opportunities as well. So
Mhm.
there is a demographic mismatch on that note. But yes, of course, if we talk about how the post-COVID scenario is going to be, there might be a change in that trend as well,
Mhm.
because you don't have to physically be present anywhere to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
That's an absolutely valid point. I agree. So, like all the different events that we talked about, like what you can do outside of classroom, fall under three categories. And these are the three categories that you need to know, like, well, to get a good job. I'm talking about like job in like top tier employers. And I like 100% believe that if you like work hard during the 4 years of college, you can easily get into a good job. Like that's a high paying starting job, compared to one of the like mass recruiters. That's my suggestion. So these are the three big categories. One is technical development, and these are the like I'll share the slides so you can read them. um, then there's something called professional development, which is you attend conferences, build your network. Also, I would highly recommend you to get a mentor, which is try to talk to somebody who's your senior in JUET, or get a mentor in the field, which is just randomly cold email or cold call people. And the success rates are low, but there's a chance that if you get a really good mentor, you don't have to worry about a lot of other things, which is like get somebody who is already well established. Like let's say if I want to learn something about cooking from somebody, I won't call Bhumik. But if I want to learn something about how to go into conferences, how to attend conferences, I would definitely contact somebody like Bhumik, because he knows the field well, like how he manages those things. Or if I want to know a skill like data analytics, I might find a mentor like Bhumik, because he knows like the analytics in the industry. So try to contact mentors who are for specific things, which is like if you want to take like some course help, try to contact those are who have like good technical skills at your university. And the last one is community building. Try to get involved in some JYC events, or talk to people outside of your branch in the university. So this is the fifth takeaway, which is get involved and get a mentor. The
Yeah, I
next
guess Aman, like just one thing. I guess so. Amanpreet and I discussed about the mentorship thing recently as well. So one suggestion that we can actually float down is that the alumni forum can itself start a mentorship program where seniors who are willing, they can voluntarily sign up. And
Yeah.
the alumni forum can actually act as a bridge where willing students can be assigned to those volunteer mentors.
Right, right. That
Right.
definitely makes sense. I think we can have that conversation with Dr. Shukla after the meeting, probably.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
that's a great way to like start a program. And typically in the States, every university thrives on like alumni networks. Like they have very strong alumni networks that support uh, like there's the sense of oneness, which is, oh, you went to the same university as I did, and if I ask from a person who's from UF, like who graduated, I don't know. So they are more likely to be my mentor compared to another university, because it gives this sense of oneness, which is like, let's say if I'm from JUET, I'm more likely to mentor somebody from JUET compared to from somebody who might be from Amity University or something like that. Okay,
Right.
so this brings to the second last topic that I'm going to discuss, which is, I think Bhumik has covered this a lot, but I just wanted to reiterate the fact that some of the skills he mentioned, which are going to be in high demand, include like data science, and I'm going to show you some more. But this is called Gartner Hype Cycle. It's a graph that's showcased every year, like by a company named Gartner. So they create a graph on what are the emerging technologies for the future, which is over the next 10 years, what's going to come. So if you can see, like in the right graph, which is of the recent one, 2019, we are seeing there's a lot more things going on autonomous vehicles. There's something on augmented intelligence and 3D printing, especially for those who are mechanical engineers and stuff. And there's a lot of movement going on in the market regarding biotech, which we are going to see in the next 10 years. But these are some of the skills that you can develop. The key domains that you should explore, which is the interdisciplinary domains that I want to suggest, is data science, cybersecurity, HCI, machine learning, cloud computing, and AR and VR. Those are the 6 big things that I'm seeing right now in the States. Like over the next 20 to 30 years, these technologies will get mature, and they are going to be a lot more jobs in this domain, which is these are just like starting right now. They are not like at the end. Like talking about data science, we have lots and lots of data. We don't have people who could take value out of that data. So like learning different skill sets, which is especially focusing on taking some courses online on statistics, is going to be really valuable, because now data will be everywhere, because it has been now captured by the operating systems or the software that uses it. Invest your time trying to build like lifelong skills rather than something which is short time, which is like data analytics is going to be lifelong. Data is not going anywhere. Try to gain some scripting skills. Even if you are from like mechanical, civil, or anywhere, scripting skills are going to be essentially really useful. And what I mean by scripting skills, there are certain programming languages like Python, which like allow you to interact with a particular environment. So like try to build those things. I have some resources on the last slide you can see. And if you have confusion on what personal project you would like to build, start building tools for your productivity or for improving your communication skills, which is like over the last 5 years, I built a personal project in JUET, which collects all my data, how many hours I spent. So if you see this graph here, it basically shows like each data point is how many hours per week did I spend. So like I've anonymized like the y-axis, but the left axis, the x-axis is 1 week per data point. So this is typically the graph over the last 4 years, like how I've worked, and it collects like information on like you can build this very easily using an Android app or something. So the key takeaway was like you should know the things outside your discipline. So the last one that I want to focus on today is building your brand. I'm sorry for going a little bit over. I might like just skim through it rather than go over it and share the slides, which is you need to have a resume, because this is the first thing that you will show to your employer to get an interview or to make a first impression. And first impression makes a lot of difference. The reason being is like, although you might have done 100 things in your personal projects or you might have attended conferences, but if you don't know how to write that in a resume, it's going to like it is just not worth it, because you need to get advice on resume from several people, which is try to get your resumes proofread at least like by 10 other people in the university. Don't try to hide it. Like I see a lot of students are like hiding their resume so that other students don't get the advantage. Actually, I've felt the other way, which is like if you share it with multiple people, it's always beneficial. So I'm going to skip the CV because that's more academic. But when we talk about resume, it should be strictly 1 page. never go to the second page. If you go to the second page, the companies might not even like look at your resume. The other part is regarding margins. You can be flexible, but for the font, it should be at least like 10 points. Font. And then there's like no right way to write a resume, but there are several wrong ways to do it. So I'm going to discuss like what are some do's and don'ts. So for the do's, try to be consistent, which is use the same tense. Don't use past tense in one bullet and then future in another one, or present in another one. Try to be relevant, which is like if you are applying for multiple jobs, you should have some things that might be distinguishable from one job to another. So your resume might be multiple copies depending on the job that you're applying. And try to avoid unnecessary words, like try to be as concise as possible. Now I'm carrying out a project on resumes as well in my research, and I'm like analyzing more than 600 resumes right now. So like one of the things that like this is kind of the summation of what I feel that most students miss, which is have proper alignment. I'll share an example like right after this. Have chronological order, which is you should have from recent what you did recently first, and then what you did like let's say in 2005, the last thing in your resume. The next one is if there are URLs, make sure it's working. There should be a professional email. Don't use something like Ajay XYZ at hotmail.com or something like that. Make it more professional. It should be it should have like least amount of text as possible, and they should be completely there should be no grammatical errors or like language inconsistencies throughout the resume. And use a Word instead of PDF, because like I think the Word instead of PDF is a bit confusing, because some companies, like how they filter candidates is they use something called ATS, which is application tracking system, and that parses the file that you upload on their website. So sometimes some companies have mentioned that they have difficulties in parsing PDFs. So it's advisable to like upload words instead of PDFs. Now, there's again like a wrong way to write your CV or resume. Don't include your Aadhaar number or any of the personal details like PAN card and stuff like that. Never include a picture of yourself in a resume, which is I see a lot of students doing that, which is they add pictures. Don't include that. There should be no age or date of birth or weird emails. No point to mention your religion, ethnicity, or anything like that. And finally, no need to mention hobbies which are not relevant to the job. If you have a hobby that might be helpful, like let's say it's debating, that's fine. But if you have a hobby that I like to play Mario games or watch TV, if it doesn't add to the job, don't add it to your resume. Now, since we are out of time and I don't want to go over, so I'll just skim these slides, but this is like, I'll share the slide. So this is how the resume should be built, which is you should have like an objective is optional, but these are like 3 iterations of the objective. The last one is more valuable if you are trying to add to your resume. Again, like I'm going to skip these slides, but you can like I'll give you these slides. One of the things to make note of, I think this is useful for everybody, not just for the new candidates, which is even if you are a faculty or something like that. If you have a resume or CV, use this format, which is you used to describe your experience, which is you accomplished X thing as measured by Y by doing Z. And this is like, this is from one of the workshops that I attended by Google. So they use this format, they recommend this one, which is an example is this, which is increase server response time by 6% by using X API instead of Y. Again, like I'm going to skip these slides because for the sake of time, but I'll make sure like to give you these slides. So build your brand, which is focused on building a resume as well as a good LinkedIn profile.
Also, I should just add one thing over here. My personal resume was also like reviewed by Amanpreet. So when we started building it, Amanpreet was already back in Florida, and it took like I would say not less than 12 iterations maybe when we were able to finally, reach a consensus that yes, this resume looks fine. And from that point onwards till today, I I've landed more than 10 job offers just using that resume, that format of the resume. I would say, of course it needs to be updated, but yes, I mean, that's, and when I review resumes from now on, from an interviewer's perspective, I have to say, anything that goes beyond one page is more or less a deal breaker, right? That's just one of the simplest filters that we can apply. If it is going beyond one page, it's kind of something which contains unnecessary information, because you couldn't have done enough to exceed that in, I should say, in not less than 10 years. It needs more than 10 years of experience to actually go beyond one page worth of resume.
Yes, I definitely agree with Bhumik's point, which is don't have more than one page. You need, like, I think the rule of thumb is every like 10 years or 6 years, you get an additional page, but not before that. So a college graduate, which is like if you have just done BTech or MTech or PhD, if you are building a resume, it should be strictly one page. CV can be multiple page. Like my CV is like 7 pages. I'll just show it to you. Some of the resources. Like these are some resources.
And building your soft skills are more important than collecting certificates. So don't run behind those certificates, right? As long as you are consistently not improving on the soft skills level. And you also always have to self judge the level of expertise on that.
I think at this point we would like to open it up for questions. If you have questions, just ask on the chat or like,
Yes, it was a very nice presentation. It was very informative. Thank you, Amanpreet, as well as the Bhumik. Now we are open for the questions. If you have any kind of question, Bhumik and Amanpreet, I just have a curiosity that as the COVID-19 is going to be there during this COVID-19 and after the post COVID-19 also, what do you think that the companies are looking for the candidate as a fresh graduate, in simple lines? What are new technologies where in a kind of a topic wise, like data science, machine learning, how they are going to build up, and what's the expectations really?
I think that's a hard question to answer because it's totally dependent on what you are trying to do. It's a very discipline specific question. But let's say if you it also depends on what you want to do. Like, let's say if you are a recent college graduate and if you want to do something like product management, so they are trying to see if you have done similar things during the curriculum, outside the curriculum. So like if you want to join as a product manager, they are basically seeing if you have worked on personal projects or you have built something for like local things, which is like you might have a local company or a local um, uh, business, like a small business. If you have done that and supervised like a team, of course, like they will be willing to hire you. Like that increases your
Uh, Yes, yes, of course, Amanpreet. But yes, of course, the attendees who's, from the faculty background, they must be agree with me that what is happening today is the students. What you are telling is basically the students are being commit, and they have the objective in the second year, so that they are going to follow their passion, their objectives in third year and fourth year, and then they are going to pursue the career, right? But what is happening today is the students are not able to know the objective till the third year. And once
yes.
the coming once the announcement is there that this company is going to come, like Infosys, Wipro, Accenture, lot many companies in JUET is coming, and before that they have like 15 days of running behind the companies, and they want everything in that period.
I
So it's
definitely
going to
agree.
be, yeah.
I definitely agree to your point, and we are seeing the same things in the states, which is by the time students know what they are supposed to do, it's like too late. So what
Yeah.
we are planning to do here in the states is we are developing a course, like a 0 credit course, when you start your BTech program, and like give
Okay.
students the exposure, like who are these successful students, like who got jobs, like bring them during the freshman year, because by the time they realize in this the year 3 or 4, it's like too late. They don't have
Hmm.
time. So
Hmm.
like one way to like fix that is that. And talking about the disciplines that you said, I think data science and cybersecurity definitely are the big two that are happening in the states, which is a lot more jobs are going to be there in like those disciplines.
Also,
Okay,
if I
okay, yeah.
try, so if I try answering that through the COVID-19 perspective, so like we have a Blackstone Monday morning meeting every day. So like that's like one of the key events that happens every week with the Blackstone group. So there have been discussions, out with other places. So like for example, the Mayo Clinic in US. So usually it's not really possible to bring in a vaccine at this short time frame, but the industry experts have actually commented that the way they're seeing things are happening and the way things have been ramped up, it looks quite possible that a vaccine may be developed by the end of this year, although it may not come into retail circulation, and how will it be made accessible to everyone across the world. But there is a possibility that US might be able to come up with a vaccine by the end of this year. And that relies on the simplest understanding that it is not possible forever to sit back home, right? So you at least need the option of coming back to work on the table, and that has to exist, right? And that is going to be there in the modern context also. So although yes, today soft skills are becoming important, people are trying to look on things with a futuristic vision that let's say the similar kind of scenario happens again in the future, right? We may have to go back to working from home again. But then again, right at this point of time, it is not so much of a game changer when you look from the hiring perspectives, right? Because it is expected that in another 1 year or 2 years, things may go back to the normal, although it's still an assumption. But the question is, during that period of time, if you're able to hop onto an opportunity, that's going to take you a bit farther, right? And that is what you have to be really cognizant of. You have to you have to keep looking. You have to keep talking to other people, right? A corporate career cannot be built without networking. A corporate career cannot be built without staying in touch with people, right? Corporates are much more humanly driven areas, right? And if you talk about any industry that's running right now, at the helm of it is the corporate structure that actually runs the entire machinery. So we have to we have to enhance that soft skill portion of ours, and we have to step out, and as Amanpreet said, cold call people, reach out to more and more people, right? So that's the only way you're actually going to generate an opportunity, right? And it's okay to be clueless till a certain point of time, but it's not okay to be without a goal, right? You may not know how to reach that goal, but you must have a goal at hand. So I guess that's an even a hawk's eye view of how you look at your career, right? So you may not know which company you would work for, or what exactly is a sub process that you would want to specialize in, but you would at least have a vision. And a vision can be as simple as having a PhD degree in the next 10 years, right? Or being at a specific position, or relocating to a specific country in the next 10 years. It can be as simple a goal as it can be, and that's how you can actually work things around it. But if we talk about the COVID-19 scenario, I think we should be much more realistic about it and not be too scared that the world is going to change forever. Of course there are going to be changes, but a large portion of those changes will be short term, and a majority of those changes would still revolve around the same machinery that has functioned beforehand.
Okay. Okay, so thank you, Bhumik. It was wonderful session you have taken, as well as thank you, Amanpreet. It seems that when I see the chat box, no questions has been raised for till now, and
So I have allowed participants to unmute themselves. So if anybody has a question, they can unmute and ask as well now at this point. Don't be scared. If you have any simple question, you need any sort of advice, feel free to unmute and ask.
so I think the people have no questions, and the total attendance, it's been starting till end. We have the consistent attendance so far, so that tells us the quality of the webinar. So I think we'll end here, and thank you, Amanpreet. Thank you, Bhumik. It was being very wonderful, informative session, and as the people attendees also uh, given the feedback on the chat box, so it was wonderful. Your slides so that we can, if as well as your videos which we are recording, it will be available to attendees, and the feedback will give you on the mail. We'll send you on email. You can send us the feedback for the improvisation as well as whatever you think, you feel, and the certificate will be given on the mail itself. We'll be sending on the mail. So I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have a query that I have not registered prior. Today, I got